the Chico Creates podcast, where we interview local artists, musicians, and makers from here in Chico, California. My name is Kira Barsodi, and with me today is Tatiana Allen. Tatiana is a creative entrepreneur investing in the arts and community building in Chico through the Makers Cafe and Skycave Arts. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's good to finally get to sit with you.
Yeah, I know. It's great to finally have you.
Definitely.
You've been on my list forever.
Aw, I know. We go way back to
Yes.
the COVID days.
Yes, the Flume Street Market days.
Totally.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself from Beyond the Bio.
Beyond the bio. So when I first read that question, I kind of thought of, I hate being in the spotlight. Some things about me, and I am dyslexic, so even, reading the questions, I was like, I kept avoiding them. And but I also do really love, shedding light on my story through answering questions, even though sometimes it's a struggle. I always feel like I'm definitely disabled, but in an invisible way. And so I think that a lot of times my goal in life is to just show people that, no matter what your struggles are, your disabilities are, or, whatever disorders, quote unquote, you're suffering from, that you can really accomplish anything nowadays with, everything we have access to, like you've, I'm sure, experienced.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time to be alive, and there's really no excuses for not accomplishing, what your dreams are. So I feel like that's a little bit about me outside the bio.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with that, we can wrap. I mean, there's all the inspiration you need right there. That's awesome.
Totally.
Such a good message.
Right?
Yeah.
I love being an artist, because I always think that opens the doors to so many things and so many conversations that would normally be awkward if there wasn't an art piece kind of in front of someone.
Yes. Yeah. It's almost like that that phenomenon where they say the best way to talk to your kids is when you're in the car.
Oh,
because then you're not making eye contact.
Oh,
and it's a lot easier to be open when there's that invisible barrier.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
definitely.
In a similar way, making art is therapeutic for the maker, and then it also can be really helpful and transformative for the receiver, the viewer of the art.
Definitely.
To be able to process things in a new way.
For sure.
Yeah,
and I think it kind of wraps back around to, outside of the bio. I think a lot of people don't know that I have severe social anxiety and ADHD.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, all these things that I really am constantly struggling with in my head. And the dyslexia too. A lot of times people will say things like, I sometimes flip my letters backwards, and I'm like, that's not exactly what I go through in life with my dyslexia, because now everything's on the internet and reading, and
very
so
text-based.
I think full circle, the idea like you're talking about with the kid in the car, I think for viewers it opens up the ability to be vulnerable and kind of receive whatever the pieces trying to get through to them. But also as an artist, it gives me the ability to, as I said, I hate people looking at me in the spotlight. And I even ran into a friend who yesterday was like, can I take your picture? And I hate pictures. And so everything about this is awkward. But once again, with art, I'm able as an artist to really put all my feelings and emotions and maybe insecurities onto a canvas or a piece of wood, and really be vulnerable, whereas maybe usually I wouldn't be able to share those things with other people. But with the art, it helps me to kind of put it into the piece and then open the conversation to others. So definitely I love the concept of with the kid in the car, because I've never thought about that before. That I've always struggled with eye contact, and so with my art too, it's kind of this amazing pathway.
It's almost a deflection, or a way to get at it without the confrontation.
Totally definitely.
Yeah It's a gentler approach.
Definitely.
So how long have you lived in Chico, and what's keeping you here?
So I've been in Chico now Oh, wow. 25 years. So, yeah, wow, quarter of a decade. And I moved here to go to school at Chico State. And yeah, I was here for a bachelor's in health administration. And so that's another fun fact about me is I thought I was going to work at a hospital, and I had the opportunity to after school. But yeah, because of kind of a traumatic event that happened when I was at Chico State, that's kind of what led me to art. So it's a really interesting thing. Chico, I came here because of my what I thought was going to be my career, and then I ended up staying here in a lot of ways because the art community is so supportive, and I've just found a lot of incredible connections and friendships and mentorships through my time here. And also I met my husband. So he kind of, is another probably reason that I ended up staying in Chico. And so that's about it.
I love that. Do you have a favorite local spot or a place to hang out?
I really love coffee. So much. So much. So I think that for me, when I am going to kind of hang out somewhere, there should be some coffee involved. I really love Naked Lounge downtown, and Stobel. And of course, I get to do a Maker's Cafe in the train car in front of the Chico Art Center once a month. And so that's another kind of favorite hangout. And I love a lot of the downtown shops. Sometimes I do even hang out, all the Little Red Hen shops I think are just amazing. I love going in those, and pretty much all the thrift stores.
Oh my gosh. I could live at thrift stores.
Definitely.
Just treasure hunting.
Yeah, and we have quite a few for,
we do.
As small as Chico is.
No, it would be an all-day excursion to try to
totally. And then like bootleg, I love bootleg downtown whenever I'm kind of trying to lose myself in another era. And I found some amazing things to wear there too.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So sounds like you got started painting in college. Were you creative before that, or kind of what's your background in art?
My mom always says, I was a really good artist when I was young, but I don't feel like I had like a real interest in it. I think just because when I was in school, art wasn't really something I was into, so it just was like another class, kind of. And so, art was really not anything I was interested in per se. But then my last semester at Chico State, I had to fill some credits, and I ended up taking a printmaking class at Chico State, and I feel like that was actually it wasn't even really painting that kind of like sucked me in. It was my gateway drug, if you will, but it was printmaking because I felt like I could just like lose myself and really connect with imagery and messaging just through real like illustrative things, that printmaking really lends its hand to. So that was kind of my first like interest, or I guess you could say spark with art.
Cool. And then what led to your current style? It's all very like to me your works all seems very like happy, joyful, colorful, lots of texture.
Totally.
How did you get to where you are now with your current style?
I think it's just been an evolution. Collage was kind of after printmaking. I didn't have access to. Printmaking
the printmaking
such
there's a big
labor intensive.
There.
You have to have a press. Anyways, so I started really getting into collage because at the time I didn't really know how to draw. I had all these like kind of stories. I feel like my work's very based on narratives. And so I had all these things I wanted to, kind of create. but I didn't have the tools in terms of being able to like draw what I wanted to do. So I was kind of like my own AI at the time before, artificial intelligence existed.
Before you could just tell it to spit something out.
Yeah, exactly.
I
would literally have to like Google, I'd have these images in my head. And so I would Google, like let's say I wanted to do something related to a monkey. I would have to Google monkey, and then I'd have to print it out, actually go to a printing place, print it out, save it onto a CD, the super old school ways. And so I loved collage because I felt like, I had no limitations. And so then eventually collage wasn't really something that called out to me. I started, I'm a hoarder. I always like to joke, not a whore, but a hoarder. Yes. And so I've collected a lot of things over the years that I feel connected to. And so those kind of became what my imagery lent itself to. Like I would come up with an idea, or I was going to do like a gallery show based on a certain concept. And then I would kind of collect these objects trying to represent what I was trying to, say. And so I loved assemblage at that point. And I feel like now I can't really go back to two-dimensional work. It doesn't feel right to me. And like you said, the texture, I love, texture and really putting a lot of layers, because I think my work always really leans into my history and my story. And so I feel like life, is just like one layer on top of another, and like, one maybe not so pretty part, that you want to cover up. And so I do love layers, and the color, I always find it interesting when people say, oh, your work's so happy and colorful, because pretty much 100% of my work comes from a really dark
that's so
and gloomy place. And so I love that. Once again, art is such an amazing thing, because it can really turn something that's maybe difficult to approach and turn it into something that people are like, oh my God, I love your piece, and I'm like, oh, it's so great, and like for me it's kind of my therapy. So unlike therapy, where maybe I've felt as though it's a waste of my time, because I'm like, why am I going to go talk to someone about my problems, where it's like, I'm like, or I could put them all into this piece and then, have a work of art that either someone else finds value in, or, whatever. Well, I like to look at.
It almost like transfigures it sounds like.
That's a great
like
word.
Alchemy, where it, you are coming at it with all of these, considered negative emotions and feelings, but then the end result is something that you do want to share with the world,
totally,
and is beautiful, and people respond to it, seeing the joy that shines through that.
Definitely, and I love that you brought up alchemy, because that's definitely, I always feel like I'm kind of on the spectrum, and so I get really like nerdy about things, and I dive in way too deep. And alchemy was definitely something for a while that I was like obsessed with. And I love that. Being able to turn something, into something totally different, through that like kind of fire, whatever the process is at the time. Definitely alchemy.
Very cool. Yes. Love that. Do you have any studio rituals or routines, or what does your practice look like on a day-to-day basis?
I think, I don't know, for me, I don't really have, I'm very anti rituals, and I feel like I'm just all over the place. So I think
it goes with the ADHD.
Definitely. But I think that dance, I love when I'm working on something, I love kind of channeling the energy. When I am having like an ADHD moment where I can just step away and just like dance. I love people never guess this about me, but I love like old school like rap, and I'm really into like hip hop, and depending upon what the art is, like even like EDM, and or back in my day it was called like rave music.
Yes.
But I love music, and dance I think is kind of a ritual for me. And then and trying to not really go into something unless I have a desire to kind of like you use the word transfigure, either a thought or idea or a vision. So my ritual is probably just to just let, that inspiration take control, and that's kind of it.
Kind of let it flow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, very cool. What's the best part about being an artist in Chico?
The best part, I think the best part is just not having to worry about what you look like, or talk like, or I find the artist community in Chico to be very accepting, and
there's not a lot of pretension.
Yes, definitely. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just very welcoming, and I feel like everyone I know that's an artist also has some kind of trauma, or disorder, or disability also, so I find that also to be really encouraging, because it shows me that I'm not alone with my darkness. The light shines through all of us, but also we have that kind of underlying darkness that really sometimes is what propels us and inspire us. So I think that that's a strange benefit, but pretty much everyone I met has something going on.
Yes, yeah. None of us gets out unscathed.
Right. Yeah, and it kind of shows, to me, as someone who geeks out sometimes on, psychology or biology, just the fact that, creativity sometimes is unlocked, through these negative experiences.
Yeah, it's I've been thinking about this a lot. It's difficult to, you get so many gifts out of trauma, but you would never choose the trauma in order to get the gifts, but you also can't get those gifts without the trauma. So it's at least you get something out of it.
Definitely. And I think that's a really interesting concept that you've been mulling over, because for me, I've actually told people before, I had this horrendous, or for me, it even went back further to childhood trauma. So I have these horrendous experiences that if someone was like, if you, my kids were actually talking about this the other day, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self, anything, what would it be?
Yeah.
And I was like, I would just be like, girl, you got to figure it out on your own, because I wouldn't even want to help myself. I'd want to be like, you won't turn out, the same way that you turned out, as strong and resilient. If I do tell you, what to watch out for, or, how to kind of, overcome that.
Exactly.
So it's really interesting, because I would have never become an artist. My trauma happened at the end of my schooling, and so I was very much on a path to a certain career, and I honestly would have never followed art, and it's everything to me now. So it is a really messed up kind of concept to be like, okay, if I could go back and not have this horrible thing happen to me, would I prevent it from happening? Probably not, because as strange as it sounds, I wouldn't have the best thing in my life, of course, other than my kids and husband.
Right. Yes, yeah.
Slide that in, my family, and it is a weird. Yeah, and I've even told my kids too, what came first, kind of once again in that same vein, the chicken or the egg, would I have had ADHD and anxiety, disorder, and all these things I suffer from had I not had childhood trauma, maybe the ADHD wasn't just something that was in my genetics, maybe it was something that was cause, and would I prefer to live a lifestyle without anxiety and all these things, yes, but also I wouldn't be as crazy as I am and able to do 20 things at once, sometimes I love.
Yeah, it's also a superpower.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. No,
and you're never boring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or bored.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's, kind of like I said, none of us is getting out of here unscathed, so you might as well make the best of it,
Totally.
It can come off as super not helpful when someone's in the middle of it, but I think it's a really important lesson to learn for everyone, because we're all going to suffer at some point.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's just for me, art is just essentially a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So,
it's a very productive one.
Why not? Yeah. Have that.
There could be way worse ways to cope.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk about Maker's Cafe and Skycave arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did Maker's Cafe start?
Essentially, I was closing down Chico Art Studio, and I knew I wasn't going to have a space to provide what I had been able to provide through Chico Art Studio. And so I wanted, just a space to give access to supplies. That was a lot of what my heart was with Chico Art Studio, and a space to have people, have the ability to just sit down and, make whatever they're inspired to make without the barriers of having to buy supplies. And, so I was actually at Chico Art Center for a show, and I remember just looking at the train car and having these really fond memories of being in there when it was a coffee shop. And I just remember just like going in there and looking out the window, and I kind of just start to daydream.
Such a great space. Yeah.
And the energy of I don't know, something old like that. It has so much history, and so many different people have like been in there and like traveling.
Some really
and,
good hauntings in there.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Yes. And so I was like, you know what, this is sad. And so I'd asked kind of how much it would cost for me to rent. And it wasn't something I felt okay putting forward, knowing I would maybe not get anything back.
Right.
And with Chico Art Studio, I used to always do that. I'd let artists come and teach classes and not charge them. Or even with like the Lunar Market, the first couple I didn't charge Lucia. And so I was always trying to support other artists, but then I would be kind of like, oh my gosh, now I don't have money to pay PG&E. So I really figured, since I've had experience with grant writing in the past, after the campfire, I figured, you know what, maybe I'll write a grant, just like highlighting the concept of having this like maker's cafe. And it was, in the vein of that used to be a coffee shop, 5 years ago. And so I had asked the board if it would be okay if I applied under the Arts and Culture Foundation grant, and they said yes. And so, it was kind of something I just decided to put together. And then I had at that time also met Melissa from Discover Chico, and I've always really struggled with technology and social media, and it's something that honestly just like sucks the soul out of me and gives me like super anxiety. And so I was like, hey, do you want to like do the social media? Actually, I think we had run into each other at a thrift store, and she was going to New York, and so it was one of these very last minute things where I was like, okay, the deadline's like around the corner. Here's kind of the idea, and then I actually came to find out that you have to have the matching part of the grant, which is actually like cash money. And so I wasn't ready for that, and so I had kind of Daniel Donnelly, who, if you haven't interviewed yet, would be an incredible person.
Once he is officially like retired, signed on the dotted line, he is getting his butt in here.
Yes, that would be amazing, because he was really supportive with this whole process, and I had kind of given up, actually. That's a cool part of the story, is I had realized that the deadline was like that night. For example, I'm always like kind of at the last minute, but I was like, there's no way this is gonna happen. Where am I gonna just like go walk downtown? I'm a big fan of serendipity, but I was like, there's no way I'm just gonna like find like I think it was like $1,200 or $1,300. And so then it was $2,500.
Oh, jeez.
And so then I had talked to Daniel, and I was like, you know what, thank you so much for supporting me, but there's no way I'm going to be able to make this happen. All the other budgeting stuff had kind of been all dialed in. And so he had just told me, I actually said I can take out like all my payment part, like I was going to get paid, to teach a workshop. And I was willing, of course, to do it for free. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take my part out. Maybe they'll still fund, the renting of the train car portion. And so he actually was like, you know what, I would be willing to donate all that money as long as you're going to get paid. So he's like, I'm not going to donate anything if you're, taking your work out.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And he is like, if your parents would be willing to, kind of match my part.
Yeah.
So it ended up being split, the total between
Yeah.
my mom and Daniel. And so it was just such a cool story for me, because it was such a pivotal time in my life of kind of trusting, like, okay, I need to now start getting paid for what I do.
Yes.
I think that the arts are underfunded and underappreciated, and part of it is because so many musicians and artists are volunteers in a lot of ways, and they do things for free, and people are always like, kind of guilting them into having their services done for free. And so I've been kind of, since COVID, I feel like on this mission to be like, okay, I need to first, take myself seriously enough to get paid. And so this project was kind of like the genesis for that. And then Skycave Arts was kind of in the same vein of, I was done Chico Art Studio and trying to work by myself. And I had these 5 artists I had worked with the year before on a grant with Luann at Chico Creative Reuse. And she had kind of brought us all together. And, we're just so grateful to her, because she, loved these 5 artists and brought us together for this grant. We all worked and got paid, which was another example of, if you pay artists, you get great work out of them. And then after the grant had ended, we had decided we all work together so well, as artists, and our desire is to be like teachers in a more, free kind of independent way, I guess you could say. And so we've been doing some projects. Recently we got to go to Berry Creek and take kind of our art, all our different art styles and different projects there. And so we're just essentially trying to get whatever work we can as artists, but together, so it's not like, oh, I have to try to do this on my own.
Having more of a collective is much more supportive.
Totally.
That's been a message I've been getting a lot personally, is I need to collaborate more. I need to let people help me. Shout out to Solomon, my production help over there.
That's amazing. Because you do learn. I mean, you can only do so much on your own. And the burnout, and for me, the fear, when I was doing Flume Street, kind of by myself at the end, I was just like, what happens if I'm sick? Or, then you're just like, I'm everything. And so it's a lot of pressure. And I'm definitely a real big fan of collaboration. And once again, just really taking ourselves seriously to where, we're going to get paid. And that requires a very full spectrum of talents, where that's the other great thing at Skycave. Each one of us is really good at different things, so I don't have to feel like I have to be good at everything. Neither does anyone else. And it's been really cool to work together, and we're all just so weird. I'm always like, we need a reality TV show, because
so someone keep the cameras rolling in here all the time.
We totally are all so incredibly different, and it really shows at our meetings, because
I love it. So this episode will be coming out in early June. What events are coming up with Makers Cafe and Skycave that people want to know about? Do you have anything off the top of your head?
I've been really bad at working ahead, because I think summertime just makes me be like, okay, let's chill.
Agreed.
So I'm not sure of the dates for either space, but we have a really great Instagram for Makers Cafe, and so Melissa's always really great about posting on there the dates. So if you follow that, you can kind of keep up with what we have. We have Skycave stuff kind of off and on, so the website is probably good, skycavearts.com to
events.
Just check in there.
Awesome. Great. Well, where else can people find you online?
I am the Crafty Cutie on Instagram. I pretty much don't do anything online.
That's good. Life is lived offline.
I do love stories.
Just
because I can, any day or moment that I'm like, ooh, this is fun. It's in the moment. I don't have to edit it or I'm horrible with anything that I have to do any kind of processing with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, I have stories. But yeah, other than that, any other social media platforms I've found to be very like just like intrusive and distracting.
Yeah.
Because I'll go on there and I'll just be like, what am I doing?
Yeah, lose hours to the apps. Yes.
And I mean, one of them also just like, I feel like gets me so upset because I'm just like, oh, people are just so mean. And like, you know, whereas Instagram, I'm just like, oh, pictures. You know, like no one gets too deep or personal on that platform, which I love. And so I'm
it's a happy place.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that is at the Makers Cafe, and then at Skycave Arts, right, on Instagram for those two. Yeah. And then at the Crafty Cutie.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for making me kind of think about things, because I think that that was one thing I realized is like I never take time for reflection. So I love like, when people interview you, you're like, oh, now I have to actually think about my life, you know, or even bios. I know as an artist, like when I first had to write bios, I was like, oh my gosh, how do you like, you know, describe yourself and your art style? And, you know, it's something I think we do and we're not really like thinking about, like how do I describe this? So I love the questions.
Yeah, there's just as a last little aside, there's so much emphasis these days with marketing placed on words because everything is online.
Totally.
And you've run into this with your dyslexia, that having everything so text-based is an issue. It's also, I think, detrimental to art because to specifically visual art, because it's a visual medium. Like I think at some point we need to just let it be and not talk about it so much.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, words can be a lot sometimes.
Yep. Let's all use fewer words.
Yes.
On this talking medium that on that note.
Yes, exactly. Perfect ending.
Yes. We will let you all go on with your days and we will see you around town. Yes. Bye. Take your time, but don't go wasting mine. The Chico Creates podcast is presented by and recorded at Maker Radio in Chico, California. Hosted and produced by Kira Barsodi. Production engineering and editing by Solomon Perillo. Theme song is Take Your Time by Lorna Such. We now have official merchandise. Hats, totes, mugs, shirts for the whole family, and more at ChicoCreates.com. Sport your support of the show with official Chico Creates podcast merch. This show is made possible by community members like you. I would personally like to thank Melissa Thede, David LaShawn Montoya, Jonathan Greenfield, Heather Leveroni, Kaylee Huber, Troy German, Kate Thurkill, Bonnie Pipkin, Lindsay Hook, Bree Epley, Scott Grisette, and Johan Caro for their continued financial support of this project. If you'd like to join them, head over to ChicoCreates.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to become a show supporter. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you around town.